G'day folks, and welcome to Gormo's Shed. Well, this week I'm doing I guess you would call it a promotion for DownsSteam Tourist Railway and Museum in Toowoomba. And the reason I'm doing that is that I've just recently come back from a trip up that way. Now, for you folks overseas, Toowoomba is west of Brisbane in Queensland in Australia, and you have to cross the Lockyer Valley, and then you climb into the Great Dividing Range, and this is where Toowoomba is actually located, and it's part of the Darling Downs, so therefore the name DownsSteam. So that's how the name of the railway originated, I believe. Now, my wife and I arrived in Toowoomba late in the afternoon, and when we visited the Tourist Information Centre, one thing that became obvious was that the DownsSteam Museum was closing very soon, so we hot-footed it down there just to see if we could get a quick look around. And the museum is supposed to close at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and we must have got there about 2:20 to 3 or something. And one of the people on the team that was working that day was Peter Eldridge, who is also a director of the museum, and Peter made the point of showing us around and giving us a sort of a VIP tour of the museum, which was much appreciated. And Peter and a couple of his fellow workers there actually stayed back well past their allotted finishing time just to show us around, and we very much appreciated that. One of the highlights for me actually was a non-railway item, if you like. One of the carriages they have there has been given over to an artist, an Aboriginal artist, actually from the local jail, who was let out to do a special commission in this carriage. The carriage had all the seats removed, and the artist was basically given a free hand. He wouldn't sort of disclose what he was going to do, but he painted murals on all the walls and the ceiling. Now, this guy has mixed parentage. It's Aboriginal and Italian, so he's got a very strong Aboriginal style of art going, but with a European influence as well, and it's really quite fantastic to see. If you are in Toowoomba, it's worth going to the museum just to see this special carriage. And I can't show you any photos of it because you're not allowed to take photos in there. And my wife and I are the sort of people that respect people's wishes in that regard. Sometimes you go to places where you see signs that says no photography, and people tend to ignore that and just do what they like anyway. Well, we don't do that. You've got to respect people's wishes in this regard. Now, when we were in the carriage, Peter explained the whole story behind the murals on the walls and the ceiling, and it's really quite a spiritual experience once you start to understand what's behind it, and it was really quite a moving experience for me, so I highly recommend that. The museum itself is really good. It's very small compared to the York Railway Museum or even Toowoomba in Sydney. It's quite small by comparison, but I tell you what folks, these people in this museum are really punching above their weight. So all I've got is some mostly still photographs to show you because we had such a limited time really, and because I'm not really absolutely familiar with all the technical side of what they're doing there, I'll lean heavily on a newsletter that Peter gave me, and I'll pull some pieces out of that to talk over the photographs as we go. So let's move into that now, and we'll see how we go. Now folks, you can find DownsSteam Tourist Railway and Museum at number 16 Cambodia Street, Drayton, which is a suburb of Toowoomba, and it's just off Anzac Avenue if you're looking for it. Now you can see that they have quite nice gardens here as well, which is part of the whole setup here. They're actually award-winning gardens. But DownsSteam is a community-based volunteer organisation dedicated to the establishment of a tourist railway for the Darling Downs region. Over the past 10 years, DownsSteam has acquired a steam locomotive number 106, now known as the Pride of Toowoomba. They've also relocated the former Toowoomba station and built a platform to go with it. And when you get onto the platform now, you'll see that it's been renamed Drayton. As I said, they've established award-winning gardens, and they've relocated a locomotive shed to house the Bell Progress Association diesel loco, the Drayton Bell. They've also themed 7 Budd stainless steel carriages. These apparently belonged to the Sunlander train that used to travel between Brisbane and Cairns. Okay folks, now we're moving up on to the platform. We've got the Melbourne tram car on the left, hidden behind the Camellias there, which is now turned over to dining, and we've got some of the Sunlander carriages on the right. This is a view from the garden side, and you can see how immaculate the gardens are. This is the Drayton Diner, of course. And then as we move on to the platform, you can see how well preserved the old weatherboard building is, former Toowoomba station. We've got an overall roof as well to, I guess, protect the old building. And the museum has functions here. They have quite a few dining functions actually, and if the weather's not so great, it's good to have a protected area where people can assemble and be kept nice and dry, I suppose. That's me on the left, and Peter Eldridge, a director of the railway, walking off into the distance there, and the Drayton Diner on the left. Another view of the Melbourne tram. And that's its credentials. That's Mrs. Gormo taking some of these pictures for our presentation here. She was my camera assistant on the day. And that's Peter Eldridge saying goodbye to one of the punters who's hopefully just spent a bit of money and had a look around. Now, if you look behind Peter, and just up there on the left, I don't know whether you can make it out, but there's another carriage up there. And this carriage has been turned over to an art display that was done by an Aboriginal chap, actually from the local jail. And he has Aboriginal and Italian heritage. And this particular carriage has been had all its seats removed, and he's done the mural in there, as I mentioned earlier in this presentation. So it's just up there on the left, but it's fantastic. And that's a picture of the original station building at the original station circa 1920, and the building, as the sign says, was donated by Queensland Rail. On the right hand side there we've got a little gift shop and facilities on the left. And these are some of the Sunlander carriages, or ex-Sunlander carriages I should say. Very elegant in their time, and well worth a look. This is where some of the dining functions take place, and it's like stepping back in time, I suppose, and would make quite an enjoyable occasion. This is some of the sort of pretty basic accommodation when you're travelling on the Sunlander, but it actually gets better. You can move into this type of lounge where there's a bar. You can have a drink and watch the world go by while you're having a chat to your neighbour. These seats are in fairly good condition. I would estimate they've probably been recovered maybe in the 1880s or 1980s. 1880s, that's too far back. And another place for socialising. If you can see it must be etched glass dividers there between the seating and the benches. I imagine you could have a light meal at the bench there. And some more accommodation. So, you know, it's a very elegant way to travel. And now we move on down to the shed. Now once you move into the shed, folks, there's a couple of things in there. There's locomotive 106. Now, for some reason, I didn't get any pictures really. I've just got a picture of the tender of locomotive 106, but the locomotive has its frames all worked on. It's got wheels and axles and all that sort of thing being worked on and in pretty good nick. The boiler is separate, and apparently the boiler is in pretty good condition, but we didn't take any pictures of it. We were probably a bit more impressed with this poor old rail motor here. Now this came from Tasmania apparently in this condition, and what looks like white foam there actually is melted aluminium. This poor old thing was the victim of vandalism. Somebody set fire to it, and it's an all aluminium body on there, and it just melted the aluminium. It was you know, to all intents and purposes a complete wreck. And it's been taken on by DownsSteam, and it's a restoration project. And it's due to be completed in 2018, as you can see, and you think, well, wow, they've got quite a job ahead of them there. But in actual fact, they've come a long way, and it's been named the Gatsby Flyer, and this is one elegant rail motor, folks. It's one little beauty. The amount of work that's been done on this thing is just fantastic. There's still ongoing work. There's still quite a few things to be done, and parts to be sourced and all that sort of thing. But the way these boys are going, they'll do it easily. And you can see on the left there, there's a pictorial history of their progress, and you can notice that there's a set of steps down there, so we did actually get inside to have a look. On the right is locomotive 106. You can see the tender there, and apologies for not taking pictures of that. But look, folks, if you want to see it, you're just going to have to go there and have a look. So this is the way it's been done out inside. Beautiful woodwork there, and that's a nice little trolley there with some sherry on it. What a way to travel, folks. I mean, you know, I suppose it could be better. It could be whiskey or brandy, but yeah, what a way to travel. Beautiful woodwork inside. These fellas that work on this thing are just magicians. Beautifully done. And that's looking the other way. Yeah, you can see it doesn't hold many people, but just imagine taking a ride in this thing. And it's even got the Art Deco lights in it on the top there, on the right hand side and the left hand side. And that rug or carpet or whatever it is on the floor even looks like it's pretty right for the period, I would say. So that's the promo for the DownsSteam Railway. That's their big banner. And that's the tender of locomotive 106. Looks pretty good, eh? And we're back outside again. There's a few odds and sods in the yard that you can have a look at too. And we're back outside again. So, folks, that's my rather poor attempt at promoting this this little railway. But as I say, it's really punching above its weight.
and I feel that if there's any way you can help out, even with a small donation or something, it would be greatly appreciated by the boys there at DownsSteam. So I'll leave it with you at this stage, and I'll see you again next time. Cheers, Gormo.